GT1 Sports Club, they all had an impressive display earlier today, and the drivers don't just get a second chance but a third as well. This is the middle one of their 3 sessions, and the idea about this is putting hypercars out on the track. Ever since GT1 cars went on display, were created more than a decade ago, there's been a demand to put them out on the track. A lot of the owners, this is the natural environment for them, and get a chance to take their car out and really see what it can do. And if you've got 825 horsepower, just under 1,200 kilos, well, it's a McLaren Senna GTR. Incredibly dynamic. Drive it on the road, it would entertain, but this is where it's true, absolute true home. And a lot of people coming to the GT1 Sports Club, they've got a little enclave in the middle of the paddock, and lots of fans going and looking at their cars, lusting after their cars. And what we saw in the first session, a lot of people being given passenger rides as well. That'd be just such a dynamic treat. And also in the case, particularly of the Pagani Huayra, it's an incredible oral treat as well. The sound of the wailing V12 is quite something. But the drivers being quite wise at the moment, they're just starting to wind it up. They're finding their form. And thank goodness this was today with the dry track. Yesterday was very wet indeed at the Nürburgring, and it wouldn't have been as much fun. But the sun god is smiling. And for fans of supercars, a very, very special experience, an opportunity to see these cars running in what is the habitat for which they were created. And the whole point about the GT1 Sports Club is to give the owners and their friends and family a chance to have these cars up in the sort of performance vicinity that they were created for. But just listen to this. This is the sound of a V12 engine, a very special one for the Pagani Huayra R. That's the important letter there. Just wait until we hear it being wound up. It's a most magnificent wail. So this could be stretched to 9,000 RPM, and that's when it really, really stands. And illustrious colleague John Watson defined this sound as being like someone standing on a cat's tail. I think it's a little more high pedigree than that, John, but it is a most astonishing sound. And certainly quite a few other cars, manufacturers, supercar manufacturers, taking a look at the V12 at the moment as well, aren't they? With Gordon Murray, your old colleague as well, certainly making great things with the Gordon Murray Automotive group. But there are so many different makes of cars and manufacturers of cars that have created GT1 cars that could work very, very nicely in this. But let's just run you down the lists of tracks at which so far the burgeoning GT1 Sports Club has put its cars on display. Not on display, moving, charging display. Here at the Nürburgring, Spa-Francorchamps, only great circuits need apply. Paul Ricard, Barcelona, Yas Marina in Abu Dhabi, and the circuit of the Americas outside Austin. So top-level tracks, and just look at the space the drivers have to really stretch their cars and actually develop their craft as well. And certainly noticed even in the first of these GT1 Sports Club sessions, the drivers just getting attuned to their car, getting attuned to the circuit, and a lot of them nipping in quite early in their sessions, because there's often a chance they go out, get the car as they like it, and come in and pick up a passenger, or maybe change one passenger for another. And as the number 20 Pagani Huayra R comes down, that, as I say, is the important letter. This is it's a naturally aspirated V12, 850 horsepower. And you might think, oh, is that a peaky engine? No, you've got 750 pounds of Newton meters of torque as well. So there's plenty of grunt as well. But in so many ways, you've got this incredible aerodynamic package to go with the engine. But it's also lightweight. This is only 1,050 kilos. So it's very, very dynamic. And again, just look at the aerodynamic bodywork on that. And when you get a chance to look up close, the carbon fiber finish, it's just made for purpose. And again, very tight cockpit, and door being opened on the passenger side as well. Little drink for the driver. Are they going to slot someone in alongside? No, it's just cooling at the moment. Certainly in the earlier sessions we had various passengers going for rides, but I can imagine the queue in the paddock. But you don't just queue up in the paddock to drive these cars. You have to be part of the GT1 Sports Club programme. But just going through some of the other manufacturers that have cars eligible, you get Aston Martin, Apollo, Bugatti, Di Tommaso, Glickenhaus, GMA, Ferrari, Ford, that's the GT Mark II, Isotta Fraschini, Koenigsegg, Lamborghini, we've got McLaren here, Maserati, Mercury with the extrawling Spearling Pure, which is just quite a phenomenal car, Mercedes AMG, Praga, we've got them on the track. They haven't come out in the second session yet. The Red Bull, the brand new RB17 that Adrian Newey just launched a few weeks ago. The Rodin, the Vanwall and the Zenvo. More will follow in their wake, you can be sure, as well. So stunning, stunning track cars. And one of them here, that's the Praga Bohema. Another different take. This is lighter. You can see there's a precious little of it in so many ways. Effectively, a single-seater pushed wide in the middle so you can take a passenger, but this is a very special car indeed. 700 brake horsepower, 725 newton meters, over 300 kph, that's just under 200 miles an hour, 982 kilos. Made for purpose, doesn't even start to cover the experience with this car. And Praga has a very successful race series of its own. There's been a really good calling point. Now, this is how you want the drivers to be when they're on top of their craft alongside each other. And, well, it's decided there, the blue Pagani Huayra decided that you can come on through. Certainly the Praga was really picking up the pace in the last session. They've got another session at the end of the day after all the racing is done here at the Nürburgring. And so much aerodynamic channeling down underneath these cars. Great big rear wing. Very much a specialist place to be, but what an experience for both driver and for passenger. I think this is a really, really good initiative, and certainly a chance for the fans who are milling around at the circuit, taking a look at all the racing cars, to have supercars in the mix. Very much something that the Stefan Rattel organisation, its races all around the world, likes to have, because fans of motor racing also do love their road cars, and these aren't really road cars. They're something just way beyond that, almost on another planet in so many ways in terms of the aerodynamic tweaks on these cars, the sort of things that Formula One teams would love to have on theirs, but they're constrained by a rule book, and these cars can do precisely what they want. So the designers have carte blanche. They have a white sheet. They can do whatever they fancy. And Pagani have been making supercars for quite some while now. The brainchild of Alejandro Pagani down in Argentina, Argentinian man, but built up here. And the drivers notable in this second session, correction, I'd just like to correct myself. For some reason, I decided to call Horatio Pagani Alejandro. Maybe it's a distant cousin, maybe not. But Horatio Pagani, should know, I have interviewed him once, but didn't didn't stick in my mind as much. But the main thing that sticks in your mind when you're near a Pagani is just the sheer shape of the car. But even better than that is the sound of these cars. That V12, let's have a listen. Going around the final couple of corners. Wind it up, wind it up. Let's listen to that V12 roar. Suddenly getting busy on track. We've got 6 cars here this weekend, and for future rounds, who knows, future occasions for the sports club, how many more we'll have. But when you get them close together on track, you get the accumulation of all that noise. But what's so clear right now is the drivers are now really, they were leaving a margin for error in the first run early this morning, but now they're going closer to the edges of the circuit and certainly becoming more confident in their tyres, in their cars, and in their own driving. But some very tidy driving out there, it must be said. And for the cars out there with passengers, it's just the most extraordinary experience, not just the sheer acceleration, braking and cornering ability, but just how tight it is in the cockpit, the heat, all the things you don't normally have in a road car. But these are far more luxurious than racing cars, but they're still just almost as if it's a different craft. And then when you get, particularly, people always think about the acceleration of these cars being pushed back in the seat and all those other cliches, but it's what happens under heavy braking that it really, really opens their eyes, because it's just on another level from anything that any of them would have experienced before. And again, just looking at all the aerodynamic little tweaks at the front of the car, those little dive planes, the little wings on the edge of the nose at the front in Italian national colours by looks of things. And they're not there just for a bit of show to make the car look faster. They're there clearly for a purpose. Again, just another modicum of downforce, a great big diffuser under the rear of the car, doing an equivalent job of channeling the air out of the back of the car and accelerating it through under the car in the sort of vortex principle, if you will. And I haven't got a lap time on any of these cars, but certainly some of the Paganis are really picking it up. The McLaren Senna GTR, there it is, working its way around a rather lesser pace at the moment, but learning as they go. And that too makes a fantastic sound. And horsepower is your friend. Different way of doing it. 4-litre V8 as opposed to the great big V12, but certainly plenty of power. 825 brake horsepower from the McLaren. And just the opportunity to drive a supercar on lovely sticky rubber around a circuit like this. A circuit like the Nürburgring that has fantastic flow. And later this year, there is another occasion for the GT1 Sports Club. And that will be in the middle of October, 12th to 14th of October at the Barcelona-Catalunya circuit, another circuit with fantastic flow. But for the Pagani's, people up and down the pit wall involved with the racing teams all taking a look, because when a car with a sound as serious and magical as the V12 Raw go out to play, it is always, always worth just checking out what it is. And so this year, by the way, the first event was at the Circuit of the Americas in May. That would have been a real challenge, because that's a track with most fantastic climb and fall. And the corners of that circuit were modelled basically on the great circuits, the greatest corners of the great circuits around the world. So it makes it a really interesting place to be. So a big, big chance to come and, if you are lucky enough to own one of these phenomenal cars, and they're really, really very limited production runs, and you've got a chance to do what it says on the tin, stretch this car, you've got to take it with both hands and bring your friends and family along, bank manager if you will. And for so many years, people with these magical cars didn't have a place to exercise them and find out, you know, the real reason they've been built. But with the GT1 Sports Club, this is the opportunity. This is the chance to get the 10 tenths out of your car, or 9 tenths on a sunny Sunday. Because let's face it, if you were driving these cars even on de-restricted roads, you wouldn't be getting beyond 6 tenths, one would have thought, of their performance. But it's here the drivers get a chance to really experience the downforce and the other elements that are so critical to the very essence of these cars, the reasons they're created. It's not just about straight line speed, it's about so much more. But when you're on a circuit, this is where you can find what they can do. And again, drivers just starting to get their braking points a little later, they're getting a little bolder in their cornering. Lots of space, you think, when you arrive at the first corner at the Nürburgring, but if you're on the wrong line, all you're going to get is gravel rash, because that's where your car is likely to end up. But the driver's doing a very, very good job here at the Nürburgring. And some of the drivers really, really maximising their track time. They get to play later today and they'll be delighted. The weather is so kind to them. Track conditions absolutely lovely. Track temperature 24 degrees, air temperature nearly 19. So it's getting a little bit warmer, but really it's all about the fact they've got lovely, grippy tyres on an increasingly warm and sticky circuit. But for the drivers who may have driven these before, may have driven here before, they're getting up to speed quickly, but it's really the passengers who have to get up to speed. They have to sort of program their brain to understand what these phenomenal hypercars can achieve. And for a lot of them, be in really alien cockpit environment for them. So it's a couple of these fabulous Paganis. One's just diving in the pit, another two are coming down the start-finish straight. Here is the one sporting 11 on its flank, turning nicely into the first corner that keeps on turning. And there, going rather faster is the one that's closing in from behind. So for any fans taking photos of these hypercars, they can get 3 and 11 together. And they can say, not only did I see these cars, but I heard them. And that's always something. As a child, I always used to love the sound of cars and just try and pick them out with my eyes closed if I saw something nice coming, and a group. But certainly it's always, for me, been something special. But these V12 engines are just simply phenomenal. And here we are looking at cars with just extraordinary amounts of horsepower. The Praga's out there with 700 horsepower. The McLaren's out there with 825. And the Pagani, 850. And I tell you what, let's just listen for a bit. Well, thanks very much for joining us, and join us again in Barcelona later this year for the next round of the GT1 Sports Club. It's been fun. It's made a great noise.